Namaste Narasingaya.
Namaste Narasingaya.
Hare Krishna to one and all. On behalf of the Lamasi Namahata and the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, founded by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, a very warm welcome to each and every one of you. So firstly, I'd like to thank Kusumita Mataji for singing the Nishikade Pranam so beautifully. Let's give her a round of applause. This is the first time that she sang at our Namahata, and I actually, very quickly asked her to do this, and she so lovingly offered her service, so thank you very much. And to Radhana, thank you for such a lovely kirtan as well, and to everyone for engaging in the kirtan. So it's actually so shocking that this is the last Friday of June 2025. How fast this year is going by, and it's been such a beautiful year at our Namahata. So much of lovely programs that we've been engaged in, and we have a very exciting second half of the year as well. We have Sri Krishna Janmashtami that we're celebrating on the 17th of August, and we have so many programs coming up. But before we get into all those lovely and exciting events that we're going to be celebrating for the latter part of the year, we're now going to have a very exciting part and our highlight of every Namahata program. So it is my honor and privilege in introducing our speaker for this evening, and that is His Grace Mahaprasad Prabhu. Prabhu needs no introduction whatsoever. We all know him, we all love him, we all respect him for the wonderful devotional service that he engages in and engages all of us in. But for those of you all that don't know, Mahaprasad Prabhu and his Dharmapatni, his lovely wife, Madhurya Bhakti Mataji, are the leaders of the Lamasi Namahata. They also do Food for Life Coastal right here at the very same premises. They opened up the Namahata a few years ago, and it's been growing with each and everybody's love and support. Mahaprasad Prabhu engages in such wonderful service here at the Namahata for Food for Life, also at the temple in helping with the maintenance of the new Jagannath Puri temple in Phoenix and the Sri Sri Radha Radhanath temple in Chatsworth. Prabhu also does a very, very special service that many of us do not have the privilege of doing, and that is he personally serves his Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Partha Sarati Das Goswami Maharaj. So Prabhu, you are truly a very special soul that has the opportunity of serving your Guru Maharaj on a personal level. So let's give Prabhu another round of applause. And I now hand it over to Mahaprasad Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Firstly, for all the senior devotees in the front there, in front of me, beg your humble apologies for me sitting in front of you here, especially I see my one God president. So I thank you all for joining us on this cold evening. And the topic we chose today is Bhakti, an affair of the heart. So we always say that, we always talk about it, but how is it relevant? How it affects our lives? And what is Bhakti? And we use the word, but we don't really understand the meaning of it. So hopefully I can do a little justice, because it's such a big word. It's few letters long, because Sanskrit, one simple word in Sanskrit, you can write a whole book, or you can have a whole library about it. And even the English translation can't even do justice of it. So that is how beautiful Sanskrit is. So the word bhakti is a very, very important word in our lives. So I'll just do an invocation prayer and then we'll start. Om Jnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manopistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Rutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagranatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Shri Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutidevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarobhischa Kripa Sindhu Vivacha Patitanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadhiko Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I'll just read a verse from the Bhagavad Gita, and then there's so many verses here where Krishna speaks. I just chose this one now. I know I had no time to prepare for this, but for the grace of the Lord, I just found this one verse. It's relevant. So it's chapter 8, text 14. So chapter 8 is called Attaining the Supreme. Ananya Cheta Satatam Yoma Smarati Nityasaha Tasyaham Sulabha Bhakta Nitya Yuktasya Yogina. So the English translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. For one who always remembers me without deviation, I'm always easy to attain, O Samaprita, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. So I'll read it again. For one who always remembers me without deviation, I am easy to attain, O Samaprita, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. So I know we're talking about Bhakti Yoga, but devotional service. So I'll tell you how it's relevant. So in a court case you have the two sides, and then one of the attorneys will say that, he'll give you a long story, but then the other guy will say that, excuse me, Your Honor, this is not relevant, I object. So it's because it's not related to the case, but then there is some relationship. So just like here now, we're talking about Bhakti Yoga. So I'll just deviate a little bit and I'll talk about some parts of the Mahabharata, some stories of the Mahabharata, some characters in the Mahabharata. It may sound irrelevant, but it is related. So many of you must have heard of Bhishma. How many of you have heard of Bhishma? Bhishma Dev Pitamaha. There's so many names it's got, according to his character. So he's even known as Gangaputra. So Bhishma is actually the son of Mother Ganga and King Shantanu. So the one day King Shantanu was walking near this river, and he saw this beautiful woman, a typical man. So he saw this beautiful woman, and he was so attracted to her. And then, he told her that, I want to marry you. And he said, under one condition, I'll marry under one condition, and that is, whatever I do, you do not question. You do not question me, and neither do you chastise me, you let me be. And that will be the perfect husband, right? So, we can dream. But anyway, so King Shantanu agreed because he was mesmerized by her beauty. And then they had the first child. She took the first child and she drowned the child. The second child, she did the same. And King Shantanu was getting very upset. And he's thinking, why? How? And he knows that if the moment he opens his mouth, he asks her questions, that she will leave him. And it happened to the seventh child. And then he couldn't tolerate it anymore. So when the eighth child was born and she was about to drown the child, he told her, no, stop it. What are you doing? And then this lady said, you have broken your vow to me. And then she revealed her identity. She was none other than Mother Ganga. So, Mother Ganga, you think that Mother Ganga will take a child and drown a child. Well, there's a pastime behind that. So anyway, I'll just go through all these things quickly. So Mother Ganga happened to stop at the eighth child. And she said that, now that you've broken your vow, our marriage is null and void. And she revealed that she is none other than Mother Ganga. So anyway, cut a long story short, they were what do you call them? They were celestial beings here on earth. And they saw this beautiful cow. This cow was called Nandini. So everybody knows who's Nandini, right? I don't have to tell you that. And Nandini is actually the child of Surabhi, the Surabhi cow. So these Vasus, these celestial beings, they wanted to steal Nandini. And then while they were stealing, the main culprit was Dio. So all of them, 8 of them got caught. And they were caught by Vashishta Muni. Sorry, I'm bad with names. So they were caught by Vashishta Muni. And Vashishta Muni cursed them. He said that you will be born as mortals in the material world. All 8 of them. And they begged and they pleaded. And eventually Vashishta Muni said, okay, you will be born, but the moment you are born, you will be liberated. At the same time, you will be liberated. So the 7 of those celestial beings, the Vasus, they were liberated by Mother Ganga herself. But the 8th one was Dio. Because he was the main culprit, he was actually the one that stole the Nandini. King Vashishta Muni couldn't withdraw his curse. And he had to be born into this material world. And he was born as Bhishma. So they call him Ganga Putra. That's why he's also known as Ganga Putra. So Bhishma grew up to be, and Mother Ganga took Bhishma with her. And that's why he trained in martial arts. He was training so many different things. But how many of you know the origin of Mother Ganga? So there's a lot of stories today, right? But then in the end, we'll tell you how it's related. So Mother Ganga was formed when King Bali overthrew Lord Indra. Lord Indra was the king of the heavenly planets. So when Bali overthrew King Indra, he took over all the heavenly planets. He was controlling the entire earthly system and the heavenly planets. And then while he was doing that, Aditi, I think it's Aditi. So anyway, Lord Indra's mother, she was pleading and crying to Lord Vishnu that, you know what, we have nothing. Bali has taken everything away. Please help us. So Lord Vishnu said, do not fear, I will be born as a child and I will reclaim your kingdom. So he was born as Lord Vamanadev. So when Lord Vamanadev, he was born as a dwarf Brahman, Vamanadev. He was born as a dwarf Brahman. And then while King Bali was doing horse sacrifice, Ashmamedha sacrifice, those days when they did Ashmamedha sacrifice, they would take an old, aging, sickly horse and they would put it through the sacrificial fire and it would come out as a young and vibrant horse. So that's what, it wasn't like, they taking the life of an animal like people are doing nowadays, as an excuse. So anyway, so when Lord Vamanadev approached Bali King Bali while he was doing this prayer, now King Bali was such a wonderful, should I say, even though he was born in a demon family, he was a good demon. So anyway, while he was doing that prayer, Lord Vamanadev approached him, and then King Bali says, Brahmana comes, you need to take care of the Brahmana. So King Bali says, how can I help you? Then Lord Vamanadev says, I'm just a small person, right? A dwarf. I just need 3 steps of land. Then King Bali says, I can give you so much of things, and you just want 3 steps of land. Then Lord Vamanadev says, yes, that's all I need. So King Bali laughed at him and said, yeah, you can have that. But his guru, who is his priest. So King Bali's priest, he said, you know what, this is a trick. Do not do this. Because he saw the guise of Lord Vishnu in there, Lord Krishna. He says, please don't do this. It's a trick. And then Bali says, I gave my word. And he washed Lord Vamanadev's feet. And then the moment he washed Lord Vamanadev's feet, Lord Vamanadev took the first step. But before he took the first step, he just grew massive in size. Now this is a supreme Lord. You can imagine the Lord growing, and he grew till he was so huge. And the entire earthly system was just glowing from his radiance. And then he took his first step, he covered the whole earthly planets. When he took his second step, he covered all the heavenly planets. And then the tip of his toe touched the embryo of the heavenly planets. And that's when he made a small cut in there. And from there, that's where Ganga appeared from, coming down from the heavenly planets. And that's the origin of Mother Ganga. So when she came down, so on the third step, I'll just finish the story, then come back to Mother Ganga. So on the third step, he said to King Bali that, you know what, now there is no more place for me to put my feet. Where can I put my feet? You cannot fulfill your promise to me. Then King Bali says, my Lord, place your third step on my head. So that's what happened. And then coming back now to Mother Ganga. So Mother Ganga was flowing from the heavenly planets. So because of that crack in the embryonic sac of the heavenly planets, so when that water was coming down, Mother Ganga was coming down, with that force, there was nobody in this world, in this earthly planet, who would actually hold that force coming down. And then Lord Shiva volunteered to do that. And then figuratively and literally Lord Shiva used his head. So when Mother Ganga was coming down, Mother Ganga fell onto his head, and that's where he absorbed most of the impact. And then now Mother Parvati was very upset with Lord Shiva, because he said to Lord Shiva, my Lord, you never give me any importance. You never ever bow down to me. You never showed me much respect. But somebody, just a strange woman, you're even allowing her to even sit on your head. So that is the importance of Mother Ganga. And that's when Lord Shiva explained to Mother Parvati, what is the importance of Mother Ganga. So coming back to the story, so that is who Mother Ganga is. So Mother Ganga is no normal being. And that is why, we treat her with so much awe and respect. So coming back to Bhishmadev. So Bhishmadev, when he grew up, eventually his father, King Shantanu, took him back. He went to Malaganga and pleaded to send him back, which he had agreed initially. Once he's grown up and once he learned all the traits of running a kingdom and being a warrior. So when he did come back, he actually was maintaining the kingdom of the Kuru dynasty. So you got the Pandavas and you got the Kauravas. So the bad thing of Bhishma, he was a very learned person, but whenever there was any misdoings, he never stood up and he never fought for the right thing. He never stood for the right thing. When Draupadi was being disrobed, he never stood up and said it's not right. When there was gambling taking place and they were being cheated, the Kauravas were cheating the Pandavas, he never stood up. When Duryodhana was actually cheating them, he never stood up and said, no, this is not fair. When they attempted to kill the Pandavas, he never stood up and said, no, it's not right. Duryodhana needs to stop this. So there's so many things that Bhishma, even though he's such a well-educated, such a learned person, he was actually grandfather of everybody, he was a teacher of everyone, yet he never stood up for Dharma. Then we come back to King Bali. So even though Bali gave Lord Vamanadev or Lord Vishnu Krishna the 3 steps of land, he was caught, he was bound, he was tied, and then when he was tied, he was laughed at, he was mocked at, and he wasn't, he just accepted it as it was. So when this happened, Bali accepted whatever Lord Vamanadev did to him. Then Bali, even though he was Asura, he was actually given some benedictions from the Lord. So we come back now to the story. Why I'm actually talking about Lord Bhishma Dev, and then why are we talking about Bali? Because these were educated people. They were very intelligent. They were considered to be very learned according to all the saintly beings that were there during those times. But they actually never performed proper dharma. So then one may ask, which is higher, bhakti or dharma? What do you think? Anybody? Which is actually more important, bhakti or dharma?
Dharma makes the bhakti.
Anybody else?
But are they both just the same?
Not really, because remember Bhishma was a very simple person. He loved Lord Krishna. He knew what was right, yet he never followed the path of dharma. So what do you think? Anybody else?
Dharma makes the bhakti.
So one would say yes, dharma, but then without bhakti, nothing is possible. How do you get the mercy of the Lord without bhakti? So what is got to do with dharma? So Bhishma, when he did not stand up for the dharma, he was actually shot. He laid on a bed of arrows. When he lay there, and the only person, the only salvation was Krishna. And he knew in advance that his devotion, his love, his bhakti for Lord Krishna is the one that will carry him through. Even though he was obligated to assist the Kauravas, the Duryodhana and his army. But in the end, he still had to face that. And then when we come to King Bali performed so much dharmic things, so many wrong things. But in the end, when he was caught, when he was humiliated, he just accepted it. And then that's when Lord Vamanadev said to King Bali, you have been cheated, you have been lied, you have been robbed of all your wealth, you have no wealth, you have nothing. You have been mocked, you have been beaten, you have been laughed at. And yet, you have given me, you kept your promise to me, to give me those 3 steps of land. So which is more important? Because King Bali is the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj. So Prahlad Maharaj was a great devotee of the Lord. And then when he was cheated and he realized who was Lord Vamana did, then he realized this is the Supreme Lord. And that is when his true bhakti showed. And he accepted everything. So even though he was performing sinful activities, in the end, the Lord saw him through. And that's when he was actually given his own kingdom. Lord Vamanadev gave him his own kingdom. And at the same time, he said, in the next lifetime of Lord Indra, you will be born as Lord Indra. So he will be the king of the heavenly planets. So imagine that just by surrendering totally everything that you have, you get everything that you didn't have. So coming back to that now, bhakti, how is it related? This bhakti that we have is such an important thing, this devotional service. This devotional service in serving not only the Lord, by serving others, you're serving the Lord. But in the end, the main service is to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So bhakti can be related to, just say, medicine. Just say somebody got suffering from sugar diabetes, and they're always getting frequent sores all over their bodies. They're getting cysts, it is not healing. So to treat that thing, we use antiseptics, we use ointments and all those things. But that source is actually the cause of the disease of the blood. So bhakti is actually the medicine to cure the blood. So it's related to the medicine that is going to cure the blood. So in society, in normal day life, everybody is moving around. They're doing charity work. They're doing good things. They're doing good. They're doing good. But in the end, it's like you're taking an ointment and just putting over the sore. You're treating the external effects of the true cause of all our suffering in the world. Whereas the true suffering is from inside us. It is a starving and a longing of the soul. And this bhakti that we have, just as Lord Bhishmadev, when Bhishma, the bhakti he had for Krishna, that is what helped him through. That's what made him confident, even though he knew he was fighting on the wrong side of life. Even though he knew whatever he was doing wasn't right. But he was a staunch devotee of Lord Krishna. And that's what actually helped him. So that bhakti, even though we're showing all our outside impurities, our problems, all those things, but within us, when that bhakti is there, we can move confidently in this world. We can overcome every obstacle we have, knowing that, we are protected. Because all these external problems that people are having, doing charity work, doing this, doing that, if you are not serving the Supreme Personality with love and devotion, with true bhakti, then you've got a big problem in your life. Because then you're going to be like Lord Indra, where his kingdom is always losing his kingdom. Why? Because his ego. Because ego, and there's other qualities too, but the main thing, Lord Indra is always in trouble because of his ego. Because he thinks that he's the king of the heavenly planets. But in the end, every time if any Devi or Devta have a problem, in the end they resort to Lord Vishnu or Krishna for resolution. Why? Because he is the supreme creator of everything. So with this bhakti, this devotion, even though Bhishma was lying on the bed of roses, he was so confident in life. He chose to leave his body at the right time. And that was Krishna right next to him. So in this world, it is very difficult to live a very straight life. I'm not saying that it's free for us to do wrong. When we do wrong intentionally, then you have to face the karma. Then not even the Lord is going to help you because it's all intentional. But when you do something without willing to do it, but you have to do it, Krishna will always be merciful. He will always be kind. So this world is not easy. It is very difficult. And if you think you are suffering, what about all the other people that are suffering? How many of them are getting to hear this, to understand this bhakti we're talking about, this love and devotion? Because this love and devotion is such an important thing in our life. If you look at the Lord's pastimes, the different loving relationships you can have with Him, the different personalities have that relationship, and the best of all were the gopis. Because they didn't worry. Nothing troubled them in life because all they could think was Krishna. Where is Krishna? They always had that longing. They always had that separation from Krishna. Always looking for Krishna. Where are you? Where are you? They even, nothing even, their husbands didn't matter to them. Now somebody would think that, how can a married woman go dance with another person in the night and all those things? But this is our material eyes that we see things. We can't see things. We actually so caught up in this material world that everything we look at in a material perspective. Whereas this love, this devotion is at another level, totally another level. It's totally different. That love that they shared was so different. In fact, when we were young, we should always play with each other, tease each other. How many of you had friends that you always pick on? You're always picking on each other. We always had nicknames, teasing names and all. So Krishna and Radharani and all his companions and all her companions had the same kind of relationship. And the relationship that Krishna and Radharani had was, there's a special term which I can't remember, that it was such a relationship where Radharani was always acting like she's upset with Krishna. Always. Because the thing is, if you're always happy with each other, then there is no separation. Imagine when there's separation between two loving couples. You long for each other, you think about each other. When you're going to meet the person. And then when you meet each other, you start teasing each other. Especially when a couple, they tease each other, what do you say? They like each other, isn't it? we always see that happening. But this actually is coming from the spiritual world. This is actually happening with Krishna and Radharani. Where, they're always teasing, playing with each other, doing things with each other. So the relationships you can have is a friendship, as friends, as lovers, parental. There's so many. You can even have a friendship as an enemy. So this is how kind Krishna is. He's not interested in what you have, how much you got, or where you come from, what your color, how beautiful you are. He's looking at your beauty that's inside. So that is where the true bhakti comes in, the love and devotion. So even if you do a little bit for him, it means the world to him. So this bhakti that we're talking about is how we actually engaging ourselves in doing things for the pleasure of Krishna. For the pleasure of Krishna is to actually take this and take it out there. And that is why we have this Namata, we have this Food for Life, we have this 10 campaign program, we have all these programs. Because we want to take this out to everybody. Because if we don't do it, everybody, to be honest, everybody finds it very difficult in this world. Very, very tough. But when you tell them, hey, you're going to Namata, you know what, hey, I'm tired, I had a long day today, or They make some kind of excuse. We understand that. But the true reality is, the moment we say that, we got a nice job here, the top group coming, hell and behold, that person will find time, they'll make time, they'll have the money, they'll have the means to do that. So that is why we say this bhakti is actually the cure for the disease of the soul. And when the soul is healed, then the entire body, the mind, the intelligence, everything comes right. So that is why we need to do this. We need to engage in these things here. Never mind the people are tired, they don't want to come. They have excuses. It's our duty to encourage them. Just come, listen to the kirtan. In fact, Bhaktivinoda Thakur said that wherever there is a necessity, we should find the perfect excuse to serve. So this world here, there is such a necessity for all this that's happening around us. We can see we're on the brink of World War III. And why? Because everybody is thinking, I'm the hero, I'm stronger than that country. We can do this, we can do that. Not realizing that we're spiritual beings. So anyway, I'm going to stop here. Oh, I won't say stop here. Now I'll say I'll stop here. Because the intention of me sitting here today is actually a decoy. Because we need to discuss our 10 campaign program. So this bhakti, we need to take it out there. We need to get people involved, to get people engaged. Because to be honest, there is very, very few people that are willing to actually engage in this kind of service. People are fighting for hard work. Seriously. So the hard work we're talking about is actually not work, it's a service. Service for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is why we try and engage in doing these things. I know some of you think, hey, this Madhurya Mataji and Mahaprasad are mad. They're doing this, they're doing that. But the true reality is, we have to prepare ourselves for something higher. Everybody knows the art of living. Everybody. Even the birds, the bees, the baby bird, once it grows up, nobody teaches it how to build a nest. But it naturally will build a nest. So that it knows how to live. But the art of dying, how many of us know that? And that is the most important art. That's a reality, whether you like it or not. That's something that is guaranteed. And if we don't let the people know, then we are not following our true dharma. That is our dharma, to teach the people. Unfortunately, you're here now, you're hearing it, you'll know it, so if you all don't do it, you're also guilty of dharma. Serious. Because if you got something good, you have to share it with others. And this is our opportunity to do this. So for this 10 campaign program, for any Namata program, Food for Life program, temple programs, wherever you can render service, be greedy for it. Because this is the food for your soul. This is what is actually going to help you when you can't help yourself. Because when there is no health, they say there's no wealth. But if you got love and devotion in you, even if you have no health, you still got wealth. Because that is eternal wealth. We're not talking about this material wealth. Because all the afflictions of the body, all these material diseases that we have, that can never, ever, ever touch and harm the soul. So if we feed our souls, engage in always thinking about Krishna, talking about Krishna, and serving Krishna through all these acts that we are doing, then yes, we are made. We are made for Krishna. And we need to take every opportunity in doing that. So, if anybody got any suggestions, questions, can't guarantee I'll answer your question, but anything? Hare Krishna, yes, go. Or Mataji?
Hare Krishna, Mahaprasad. Prabhu, thank you for a very enlightening talk.
Just one simple question. I know the answer, but just to share. Which is higher, service to the Lord or service to the devotees?
Anybody can answer
Setting
that?
the tone for you.
So, higher than serving the Lord is actually serving the devotees. Because das, anmodas. You have to be the servant of the servant of the servant. And that is what's pleasing to the Lord. That's what He says, that's what He wants. So even Lord Shiva says that, He says to Mother Parvati, the highest form of worship is worship of Vishnu or Krishna. But higher than that is serving His devotees. So that is a true reality. Because, I always use this analogy and Mother will always laugh at me. So just say you got a sweet, right? You got a sweet and there's a father carrying or mother carrying the child. Now if you take that sweet and you give it to the child, to the mother, you think the mother will be happy? Not so much, right? But imagine if you take the sweet now and you give it to the child. Won't the mother be more pleased than the child? And that is the kind of relationship Krishna has. He gets more happy when we serve each other. That's where he gets most of his joy. That's when the gopis and the gopas were playing and serving each other. That's where he found his real happiness. Because it's an exchange of love. Where there is love, there is devotion, there is bhakti. And that's where the most important thing is, to serve each other. Because we're not perfect. Each and every one of us coming here to this Namata, to this Fruitful Life programs, each and every one of us got some flaws in our lives. We're struggling with something, a personality disorder, issues, financial, health, mental, anything. Each and every one of us are coming with that. But the thing is, when we start serving each other, irrespective of who we are, what we contribute, how much we contribute, but when we serve each other with love and devotion, that is all that matters. So we take our differences aside. Put it this way, to have this Namata program, the Food for Life program, there's a lot of challenges. There's a lot of challenges. But the thing is, we are doing it for a higher purpose. We're doing it for our own serve. Because when the time comes, we know we are covered. We know we're guaranteed we are covered. And that is why it is worth that sacrifice. So when we come here, we take our ego, we take everything, we put it in our back pocket, we can go home and take it out again. But when we're serving devotees here, we must serve with love and devotion and nothing else. And then Krishna is pleased. And that's when you feel the energy, you feel the vibration, and then you feel the happiness. And that is the most important thing, serving each other. Because even in the Bible, Jesus said, love thine enemy, for what good it is to love ones. That's, those who love you. Because whoever we see as an enemy, jealousy, envy, all those things. So those things are all an important concept. When we come together, we must see each other as a spirit soul. And then when we're serving, we're not serving that person, that body, we are serving the spirit soul. And that is what is more important. So we take our blinkers out, we put our spiritual blinkers on, and then we start serving. And then you got a problem, you take it out there on the road in front of me. But I'm joking. The thing is, we need to actually think on a higher level. It is not easy, especially if we have to work with each other. That sometimes we don't like each other, we don't like each other's attitude, all those things. But for a higher purpose, just as you don't like your boss, but you're going to work every day. And what you're getting the money you're earning, financially you're earning. And that is also going to get finished. When you leave this body, you're not taking it with you. But when you come here and you don't like somebody, but you serve them with so much of love, imagine the benefits you feel, how happy Krishna will be. This person got such a big problem with his ego, but you're taking your ego, you put it in your pocket and you're serving this person. I'm so pleased with that. That is how Krishna is. He is pleased at your sacrifice. Bhoktaram yagya tapasyam sarva loka maheshwaram surdam sarva bhutanam yanathamam something nikyate. He says, I am the Lord of all sacrifices. I'm the enjoyer of all sacrifices and penances. So the sacrifice we make is not that, I'll take, buy a lot of fruits and, put thousands of tulsi leaves and do this and I'll offer to the Lord. No, he's not talking about that sacrifice. He's talking about the sacrifice where you take your issues, your problems, anything, your inconvenience, whatever issues you got, you put it one side and you go and please the Lord by coming together as one. That is the most pleasing because He is the Lord and enjoyer of all sacrifices in the material and the spiritual world. He is the supreme enjoyer. And that's the only thing that's pleasing. Sorry, Mataji, I just went too long with that. But thank you for that question, Mataji. Any other questions, statements? So please forgive me. Sorry, Mataji. Now comes the opportunity to get involved in some bhakti yoga, devotional service. So with the 10 campaign program coming up, so it's sometimes it's hard to call devotees to come